The expiration of the New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, or New START, on 5th of February 2026 marks a quiet but significant turning point in the long story of nuclear arms control. For more than a decade, it stood as the last legally binding agreement limiting the world's two largest nuclear arsenals. Its end isn't just a procedural milestone, it signals a break in the chain of treaties stretching back over half a century. To understand why this matters, we have to step back to the Cold War. By the mid-1980s, the United States and the Soviet Union together possessed more than 60,000 nuclear warheads. The scale was staggering. Early agreements like the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks and the 1987 Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty established a crucial precedent. Even adversaries locked in deep rivalry could accept verifiable limits in the name of stability. Then came START 1 in 1991 and START 2 in 1993. Mandating deep reductions and introducing intrusive verification. New START, signed in 2010 and entering into force a year later, became the latest link in that evolving framework. At its core, New START set clear numerical ceilings. Each site was capped at 1,550 deployed strategic nuclear warheads and 700 deployed intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and heavy bombers, with an overall limit of 800 deployed and non-deployed launchers. But the treaty was about more than numbers. It built a culture of transparency. Thousands of notifications were exchanged and on-site inspections allowed both parties to confirm compliance. By 2018, both had reached the central limits. Several features made the treaty distinctive. Its verification regime was streamlined compared with earlier agreements, drawing on decades of arms control experience. Inspections were frequent yet calibrated to respect sovereignty while maintaining confidence. The treaty also offered flexibility. Each country could shape the composition of its strategic forces within agreed ceilings, accommodating different doctrines and modernization priorities. In other words, it set boundaries without prescribing identical force structures. Now here is where things get interesting. New START unfolded during a period of rapid technological change. Advances in precision guidance, missile defense, cyber capabilities, and hypersonic systems were already reshaping strategic calculations. Yet, the treaty remained focused on traditional deployed warheads and launchers. That created a kind of paradox. While it effectively capped legacy systems, the broader environment of strategic competition was expanding. Its 5-year extension in 2021 suggested that despite these shifts, policymakers still saw value in a stabilizing anchor. While the treaty's expiration, binding ceilings, and formal verification mechanisms disappear, history shows that such gaps tend to amplify uncertainty. In earlier eras without effective constraints, arms buildup were often driven less by deliberate expansion than by fear and worst-case assumptions. Today, global warheads total are far below Cold War peaks, roughly 12,000 to 13,000 worldwide. Still, the concentration of most of these weapons in two countries means bilateral dynamics continue to carry global consequences. The impact goes beyond simple warhead counts. New START functioned as a transparency regime that discouraged sudden expansion and surprise deployments. Its end may redirect competition towards qualitative areas such as modernization of delivery systems and integration of emerging technologies. If we look at the longer historical pattern, arms control tends to move in cycles. Periods of rivalry are often followed by renewed negotiations when the risks become too apparent to ignore. The current moment fits that trajectory. The erosion of established frameworks highlights how fragile these institutions can be, but it also reinforces the logic that created them in the first place. Even intense competitors have repeatedly returned to negotiating tables when mutual vulnerability becomes too costly. The expiration of the New START carries both risk and opportunity. On one hand, the disappearance of legal limits increases uncertainty and encourages hedging strategies. On the other hand, it opens space to rethink how future arrangements might address a more multipolar and technologically complex world. The historical record suggests that durable stability depends not only on numerical caps, but on adaptable mechanisms that evolve with strategic realities. In that sense, the end of New START is less an endpoint than a hinge in the broader history of nuclear governance. It highlights the persistent tension between deterrence and cooperation, competition and restraint. How states respond through renewed dialogue, informal confidence building, and entirely new frameworks will shape the next chapter in managing nuclear risk. And perhaps, more than anything else, it reminds us that arms control have always been a process, not a permanent destination.